Alright, you guys, I have almost failed you. It's getting closer to dark, and I had just remembered that I need to take a walk-around video of this thing. So a lot of you have watched it run. I have this, this is a leaf vac engine and vac blower deal mounted on a pivoting bracket there, and then that pin would drop in to lock it into place. But I've been filling bulk seed bags with sawdust and then selling them, but I'm out of bags at the moment. I'm waiting on the seed dealers to provide me with more, so I've just been blowing it out. And these pipes sit here, and you hook the hoops of the bag on it, the loops, and the bag kind of inflates up in between the pipes. There's where the other one hooks, kind of like a bounce house. And I don't run the engine, the vac engine, at wide open throttle. I run it about half throttle or something, and it works well. It doesn't clog up ever. And if a piece of bark or even a splinter gets in there, it just chews it up. It's got a impeller in there; it'll chew it right up. So, and then the live deck is hydraulic folding. I've got the valve lever for that there, and this is the pivot point, so it all folds up like this, and that works really well. Then the legs just swing down up against it. And I've got a transport lock bar. This is in the stowed position, but I'll unpin it here and put it up on top here, and it comes up and pins into this bracket. Or if I need to, I can fold the deck. Instead of straight up and down, I can fold it over like this and pin that bar in a different hole. And if we have to trailer this thing somewhere on another trailer if we're going on a long trip, that gets the overall height down a little bit, so we're not too tall going down the road. A bunch of people ask what's up with the skid steer plate. Just to make you ask questions. No, just kidding. It's pinned on. It's a skid steer trailer mover attachment, and it's just pinned onto a piece of box tube welded to the frame. We go do mobile processing, and it seems like no one has a skid steer mover attachment, but they need one to move this around sometimes into a place you can't get it with the truck very easily. So there we've got our hydraulic supply and 2 returns. Those are all 1.25 inches. Each return has a high flow filter on it. Now the other one's underneath there. And we've got a bolt-in removable protection plate there for them. Let's see. For the bar oil, I just use airline quick couplers, and that also lets it swivel, and that's a T with a plug in it to get a sharp 90. A regular 90 would work just fine. That's just what I had laying around. If you've built anything, you know exactly how that goes. So, and there's the saw cylinder. So this is the saw drive. Well, here's the heart of it all, a turbocharged Kubota D950 diesel. This is kind of the predecessor to the D902 that's common in the RTV 900 utility vehicles. These are not turbocharged from the factory. I bought a turbocharger kit that was for a RTV 900. Actually, I think the kit was for a Ventrac, a little articulating garden tractor deal, but uses that engine as well. Anyway, a little bit of modifications to make that work on here. Runs about 12 to 14 pounds of boost. Maybe a little bit excessive, but we've got ARP head studs gluing the head on. So here's the meat and potatoes of it all. I had this piece here machined. It's all one piece. There's a flange and then a shaft. And this PTO clutch is electric, and it's from a Vermeer SC252 stump grinder. It's a Ogura GT5VE, I think, is the model of the clutch. It's rated for 400 foot-pound of torque. It's not that we're moving that much torque, and I don't know how you would even get that through two A-series V-belts, but that's not my problem. The constant cycling builds a tremendous amount of heat in them, and that clutch has been holding up really good. Started out using like commercial zero-turn mower clutches, and those just weren't, they did okay, but they weren't quite up to snuff. And this allows us to run two belts, which transfers the power a lot better anyway. That's the spring for this tensioner, and I actually have a shock absorber on it as well. Kind of smooths out the tensioner, kind of semi-hydraulic. So anyways, that drives the jack shaft, and I recently changed this pulley out the other day to get the saw speed correct, because this used to be a 63 gauge 404, and now it's an 80 gauge, and the 80 gauge is meant to run faster, so that's worked out well. We've got a battery disconnect and a deep cycle battery there, or no, automotive battery, I'm sorry. There's a 3-section pump, all single stage, 16 gallon a minute for the splitter, 8 gallon a minute is for everything else, and then 7 gallon a minute is strictly for the conveyor. We've got about 5 or 6 gallon fuel tank, which is not really adequate, but we haven't upgraded that quite yet. And I've got a power inverter inside here, just in case. I don't know, you never know. And there's where the exhaust comes out. It does soot a little bit, so we try to keep that out of the way. That's a 5 gallon bar oil tank. There's our 6-way wedge, and we can store the 4-way. We can set the 4-way here. You know, set it, we can take it out, set it here, and then grab that and go. Got a tongue box. This is for storing sledgehammer and a hookaroon and a cant hook. And this bracket pins in there, and then it you take it out and pin it into here, and it sticks out here, and put a boat seat on it. And this console folds up and pins upright for travel. So we've got a lot of lights everywhere. That's height adjustable. So this crane was originally built just to change out the wedges, because they're very heavy, and they are Easton made style. Well, it's not a good picture of it. Like that. So when you lower it down all the way, it unhooks automatically. And that's pretty tall. There's a pretty close to about a foot between the beam and the 4-way wings. Of course, it can go all the way down as well. So with the crane there, I decided to just add a canopy to it, and then a fan. So you can still use it to change out wedges, but you can also swivel it around and use it as a little bit of an awning. We've got a tip tray here that's operated with a foot pedal. That's nice, because you can flip a log real fast, or just hold it, or whatever. You can hold the piece for your last cut. We've got a adjustable hydraulic log stop. Just in 1-inch increments. I think 14-inch to 26. I know 26 is the max. I think 14 is the shortest, or maybe it's 12 inches. So we've got our control console here. These first 4 switches are for lights, and that one is a safety switch for the saw. If we shut that switch off, nothing can activate the saw clutch, even on accident, if someone bumps a control. So if you're, you can also turn that off and then engage the saw, dummy engage it to prime the bar oil if you lost prime on that somehow, if you ran it out. And we've got different pressure gauges there. This is the regenerative circuit valve for the splitter cylinder, and this is a pressure adjustment for the saw feed and a flow control for the saw feed. And this cylinder is a 4-inch by 30-inch stroke with a 2.75 rod. I had that custom made at Foreman Enterprises in Hope, Indiana. In case you're wondering, that works out to pretty close to $2,500 to have made this way. It's a welded T-style, and it has one 1-inch port here and two 1-inch ports on this end. So the regen is moving a whole lot of fluid when you're extending. So that one goes in here, and then this one here goes to the dump valve, which is mounted here on the frame. And if you don't understand how any of that works, it's a lot of physics involved in the regen. When you're extending the cylinder, it takes less pressure here. Well, how to explain this? Say 500 psi here actually creates, I don't know, I'm just using numbers. Say 800 or 900 psi on this end as you're extending. So regenerative circuit allows this fluid to get teed into the base end and enters into the base end of the cylinder because more pressure is being created here. So you're not filling both sides of the cylinder, you're pushing this way, which in turn goes back in this. It's complicated. Do a lot of homework on that if you have more questions. I'm not trying to make a video all about that. With a larger rod, it doesn't take very much fluid on this end to retract the cylinder fast. And that creates a lot more fluid flow than the control valve can handle. And you would build heat and lose speed and everything else. The dump valve just dumps it straight back to the tank. It's pilot operated, so when it retracts, it automatically opens and allows it just to get rid of all that fluid as fast as possible. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands. So that's that. And this control is a detent valve that turns the conveyor on, and we can also reverse it. This one runs the conveyor up and down vertically. We can lower it down for transport or to fill a container or a dump trailer, or we can raise it up high enough to fill into a triaxle dump truck if need be, or just make really tall piles. This one runs the crane up and down. Then we have a wireless remote for that winch. This joystick up and down is your wedge. Left and right is the live deck feed. Here's your auto cycle valves. Push them forward, let them do the thing. And then left on this feeds a log into the saw. Right would also take the log back. When you pull down, it clamps. There's a sequence valve here. So it clamps the log, and this is teed into it as well. So when it clamps the log, that cylinder retracts to get out of the way, and it has to see 1500 psi before it activates and sends fluid to the saw feed cylinder next. So I use we call them a whisker switch around here. So when you pull down, that switch trips and turns the saw on and the bar oil pump on. And then when you go to raise up, that's shut off. And when you raise up, the sequence valve is not involved, so we use a flow control valve over there to time it out so that the bar and the clamp, the bar raises maybe slightly ahead of the clamp. That way the log doesn't flop and bend the bar or something. And then it will extend that log stop to be ready for the next cut. Let's see. So we got a big wedge. I made this panel here, can be opened if we have a lot of resplits. If you have a helper especially, they can stand here, and this is waist high, so they can just grab the piece and throw it back to the operator. And this is set up like a Jeep door. You can actually just lift it right off the hinges, no problem. This conveyor belt isn't the correct one. My new one's supposed to be here in a couple of days. It would be the full width. This is kind of a backup belt. So pieces do get stuck on the sides here because this isn't wide enough. So that'll be corrected here in a couple of days. And there's lights everywhere on it. We can run late at night if need be. So we originally added 1 hourglass roller to the back and thought, man, that's really neat. That works good. And then we added a third deck leg to do longer logs. And so we added another hourglass roller to get, to match that length, and that works out good. So then these legs are all height adjustable with pins. They're all hooked in unison, so they lift together off of one cylinder, so you can adjust your legs different heights for the ground you're on. And there's our hydraulic tank. It's an old fuel tank off a straight truck. We got about 40 gallons of fluid in there, and you can't really get it to run more than about 110 degrees, and we don't run a cooler on it, so more lights everywhere. Never have enough lights. I think that's about that. So I think if anyone had any other more specific questions, I'd be glad to try to answer those in the comments. Thanks for watching.